What's up, Hockey Talk Show fans? It's your old pal, and I'm here at the day job. This is the morning show I do right there. But we're here to talk hockey this morning. Big trade. Finally, we got a big summer trade, and it comes on September 10th, 9th, 10th. It depends on how you look at it. A middle of the night deal. Max Pacioretty going to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Thomas Tatar, Nick Suzuki, and the 2019, I believe, second round pick, which was originally the Columbus Blue Jackets pick that was acquired by the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's break this down. A couple thoughts on this. First of all, I get up very early in the morning to do the morning show here, and around 4:30 or so, I always check Twitter to see what's going on in the world really quickly, and I saw that the trade had happened at around 2 a.m. That's really bizarre because you don't often get a lot of midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. trades, but credit to the insiders, and I don't know who bought McKenzie or Pierre. I forget which one who broke it first, but credit them for being up at 2 a.m. to break hockey news. Let's get into the trade and what it means for both teams. Number one, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that Montreal is going to suck this year. They're going to be terrible, but maybe not as terrible as you might think. Clearly, to me, this is a sign of they're building a little bit more towards the future. Mark Bergevin's not going to say that, but you don't go and acquire a Nick Suzuki, who's a really strong prospect, and think that he's going to come into the lineup and impact you right away. Maybe he is. I don't know. I don't really foresee that happening. Thomas Tatar is obviously a little bit of a downgrade. Now, if you're a Montreal fan, you're looking at this like, hey, Ann, Tatar is a 20-goal scorer. Pacioretty is a 30-goal scorer, so you're not losing much in the wash there. They also pick up a pick, and they get Nick Suzuki, who's a very strong prospect. I want you guys to keep in mind, he is a real deal, legit strong prospect. His OHL numbers are through the roof. 42 goals, 100 points in 64 games for Owen Sound last year alone. I don't know what his other 2 years were, but they were pretty close to on par with that. So the kid's a legit scorer, but he's 5'11". How many of these little scorers in junior come up to the NHL and wind up being not that? He's not going to be a 42-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. I'm sure he could be a good point producer. I'm sure he could find a role. He could maybe even be a 20, 30-goal scorer, but he's not going to be a 40-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. Good amount of speed, but again, he's 5'11". He is actually a little bit difficult to get off the puck. I've seen some of his game highlights, but he's not an immediate answer for the Canadians. I think this is them throwing in the towel a little bit. I also think that although it's smart to build up towards the future, you get a second-round pick, you get a really nice prospect, you get a 20-goal scorer. They got a pretty fair exchange in the deal. Keep in mind, too, Pacioretty's only got 1 year left on his 6-year deal. But I think it's a little bit of a confusion from Bergeron. Like, I really feel like Mark Bergevin is one of the worst GMs in the league. There was 1 year where he added Dale Weiss, and it was all this size and lack of speed. He added that all to the lineup. Obviously, picking up Weber and getting rid of PK Subban, that's more size than speed. That was their message. That was their mission statement 1 year. And now all of a sudden, he adds a 5'11" prospect. He's already got Brendan Gallagher on the, he's got all these short centers. They're desperate for centers. They need centers. He acknowledged that at least in this deal. But, 1 year at the deadline, it's all size, and now it's, 5'11" Nick Suzuki. So I don't really know if Bergevin knows what he's doing. It's a lot of fluctuation. I feel like we're just on a huge countdown until Bergevin is eventually fired. That being said, let's see if Suzuki makes the cut this year. We'll have to wait and see if he can make the lineup. He's a 2017 pick. He's still super young. I would say he's at least a year or so away. Get a little bit of size, get a little bulkier maybe. We'll see. Maybe he'll make it into this, forward desperate lineup for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm not really sure. Thomas Tatar, it's a decent pickup. Wasn't great for Detroit. Couldn't really make it into, wasn't great the last year for Detroit. He's got a lot of potential. When he's on, he's great. Couldn't really make it into the Vegas lineup when they got him. I think he only played in 8 playoff games or something like that. So Not a lot of success for Tatar to make it into the lineup. It was hard to kind of crack that lineup for Vegas in the playoffs, but it's a decent pickup. Look, if you're getting rid of Pacioretty and his 30 goals, it's nice to bring back 20 in return. And he's got a little speed on him, Thomas Tatar, and if he can get back to the form of player that he was in Detroit at one point, it won't be all that bad for the Montreal Canadiens. But clearly they are just, continuing to go through this. There's no identity there. When you look at teams that Lou Lamoriello builds, when you look at teams that, what's another good example of a GM who's just so strong, not like they have their formulas, they have their set ways. Bergevin just doesn't seem to have that. He kind of just makes all these moves. They're all scattered. They all don't really add up with one another. It's just a little bit more hectic. I mean, I'd be really worried if I were the Montreal Canadiens. But that being said, I know I'm killing the Canadiens here, and I'm like, they're going to suck this year. All things considered, if you have to move Pacioretty, it's not that bad. I mean, they got a halfway decent return. In the next couple of days, I'm sure we'll find out if there was a better return to be had. I'm not sure, but we'll wait and see. We'll be here to analyze that, of course. Looking at this from the Vegas standpoint, I was actually not that excited about the Vegas Golden Knights going into this year. I'm excited. Again, I have a good history with the Vegas Golden Knights. I picked them very early on last year. Once they went on that little bit of a run, 10, 20 games in, I said, this team's legit. Nobody gave them credit. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Coming off of that and losing the real deal James Neal, I was concerned for the Vegas Golden Knights. I really was. I really was concerned. I didn't really think that they would have a successful sophomore campaign. And the reason being is what they had going for them in year one that people overlooked big time, not their speed, not Gerard Gallant, not William Karlsson, was zero expectations. There was no expectations, and they weren't competing with history whatsoever. That's what they had year one. They were not going to have that year two. In fact, it was going to be the exact opposite. They were going to have the worst expectations because they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals in year one. So I was really concerned for that. That added with losing 30 goals and not replacing it, I didn't think that the Vegas Golden Knights were going to be, let's put it this way, I wasn't going to pick them for the Stanley Cup Finals again this year. Adding Max Pacioretty back to the mix, now you got a 30-goal scorer. Okay, fine. I think they're back in this little legit contention area that, the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks and some of the other teams out in the West are going to have to deal with. So I think that Vegas is going to have a good campaign this year. I will do a full breakdown on Vegas and all the other teams as we get closer to the 2018-19 NHL season and another year of the Hockey Talk Show. We're going to be back with live shows real soon. The other thing, this is, I got to give tons of credit to Vegas general manager George McPhee. I mean, just great moves. I didn't think Tatar's acquisition was all that great. It was clear that once the Erik Karlsson deal fell through, he used those picks to go out and get Tatar. Tatar is not a fit. He never made it into the lineup. Like I said, 8 games in the playoffs, and they go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. It wasn't that great of him. It was one of, in a year of A+ moves all around from George McPhee, it was one of his, B-, C+ moves. But now he takes that and he flips it into Max Pacioretty, replaces James Neal, gives them a real chance to go here. I think it was a great save by George McPhee. But a message to Vegas that they're going for it now, not later. Suzuki, later. Second round pick, later. He dumps both of those for the now, getting Pacioretty with only 1 year left on his deal, knowing that full well, that's a now move. That's a now maneuver for sure. So Max Pacioretty coming in here with 1 year left. You can't feel all that confident in it. But I will say this for the Vegas Golden Knights fans. Forgive me as I am doing on-air stuff at the same time. I will say this to the Vegas Golden Knights fans. Pacioretty loved Vegas. When he went to Vegas, I have the quote up here. He said, and I quote, after the Canadians lost 6-3, "Best road game I've ever played in. When you experience it for yourself, that was a treat to play, and I wish we'd played them more than once a year." Talking about playing in Vegas. It was unbelievable. Everything was top-notch. Couldn't ask for better music, better atmosphere. better fans. Now, is he just towing the NHL company line and saying nice things about the new expansion franchise? Maybe. Or did he really mean it? And he really did love and enjoy his time there? I don't know. Time will tell. If he signs an extension, we'll find out. Also, keep in mind, Gerard Gallant was with the Montreal Canadiens as an assistant coach for a really, really long time. And there's obviously a history and a past relationship between Gerard Gallant and Max Pacioretty. So he should flourish in the Vegas system. It's a lot of speed. It's a lot of offense. He's going to have some other guys there to kind of watch his back a little bit with Reeves being there. That's what Pacioretty needs. He's not a tough guy. He's a little soft when it comes to some of those things. And that's a team environment. Like, one of the big knocks against Pacioretty was he sucked as a leader. He sucked as a captain. Well, look at the Vegas Golden Knights. They're more of a team than I've seen any other team ever. They're so team. They couldn't possibly be more team than they are. They don't rely on superstars whatsoever. They're a collective unit. I think Pacioretty will flourish in that. I wouldn't be surprised if they put him down for an extension. Then it's a big, huge win for the Vegas Golden Knights. If he winds up walking after the season, look, I still think it's a good move on the part of Vegas because Tatar wasn't going to make it into your lineup anyway. So you might as well get somebody who's going to be in there night in and night out playing top 6 minutes, and that's what Pacioretty is going to get to. Trying to think if I hit everything there. There was a lot. A lot. I had a lot to say about this move that came in the middle of the night that I think Marc Bergevin made while he was drinking. I don't know. That's all hearsay. That's all speculation. That's just what I think happened. I think he got a little hammered and, let's do it, George. I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he thought it out a little bit more. At first sight, when I saw it, I thought, wow, that's a bad deal. And then when I got into it, I was like, you know what? Suzuki is coming along. They're so desperate for centers in Montreal. I would have loved a bigger center for the Canadians, but it is what it is. More experienced center, but it is what it is. And then they get Tatar in there, and, that'll change the dynamic of their top 6. They've got Domi in there now. So let's see what the Canadians have. I don't have a ton of faith in it. I don't think it's as cohesive as a unit as some of the other teams that have built some stuff together. But, let's see. Let's see. They got 72 in there now. Domi, Tatar. It's a new look offense for the Montreal Canadiens. Let's see what they do. I don't have a lot of faith in it. I don't have a lot of faith in their defense. But at the end of the day, they have Carey Price. So, they always have a chance. If he stays healthy, they got a good shot. If he's going to miss 20, 30 games, I think they're going to fall down to the bottom of the league again, like they always do when they don't have him. And Vegas, you got my thoughts on that and what they're doing over there. I think they have a good shot. That Nate Schmidt thing is weird, right? Got 20-game suspension for a performance-enhancing thing. He said there was such a small trace amount, and he's going to fight it. We'll keep our eye on that as well. A lot of exciting things coming for the Hockey Talk Show this season. A lot of videos. We're going to be doing our live shows again. Might be switching the formula up a little bit when it comes to the live show. I think they're the whole great key and purpose of the Hockey Talk Show. It just doesn't help us build the channel as much as our preloaded videos. So I think we're going to do a lot of pre-recorded videos to start the season, help us get jump started. And then, of course, we'll get into the lives as we usually do. We'll be previewing the season. I don't know if we're going to do all 30 teams specifically as much as maybe some of the big highlights going into the year. But I'm sure we'll touch on each one. Like, I don't know if there's going to be a dedicated show for each team, but we're going to hit a lot of it. And we got a couple other things that we are putting the finishing touches on that is going to be pretty exciting. So a lot of fun stuff coming for the Hockey Talk Show, of course. Make sure you're following at hockeytalkshow.com, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Hockey Talk Show. We are getting close. This is the first big seismic move in the National Hockey League. Training camps are getting together. They'll be starting. Teams are already in towns doing informal skates, and we got our first big deal of the preseason. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Make sure you share this video, and I'll see you on the next Hockey Talk Show.